Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the May 1st, 2023 meeting of Temporary Traffic Safety Committee. We will be having this evening's meeting pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending the certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. Signed into law on March 29th, 2023, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. This order does allow bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is welcome to follow along either through Northborough Cable or through YouTube. We will kick off the meeting tonight with a roll call vote for attendance. So I'll get started with that. So tonight we have Mark McMenemy. Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Janine Callahan.
Here.
Mitch Cohen.
Good afternoon.
And Chris DeCitas.
Here.
And I, Laura Zeitnam, here. And then we've also got Scott Charpentier here.
Present, Madam Chair.
Great. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I will dive right into our agenda this evening. Our first order of business is accepting the March 28th meeting minutes. Would someone like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I will. Do I have to say it? I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yeah, that works.
Thank you. And a second?
Second. I'll second it.
Now that we've got the motion on the table, did anybody have any feedback, thoughts, or changes that they would like to make on those meeting minutes? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote to accept those minutes. So I will read your name. Please vote in the vote how you would for the minutes. Mark McMenemy.
Aye. Is that what I said?
I feel I'm not explaining this properly tonight. Sorry. Janine Callahan.
Aye.
Mitch Cohen.
Aye.
Chris DeCitas.
Aye.
And I, Laura Zeitnam, also an aye. Thank you so much. The next topic on our agenda is a continued discussion of the Permanent Traffic Safety Committee charge. We had a couple of versions that went through. Hopefully everybody got a copy of it. Mitch had some great suggestions just for some changes in the wording. So I thought we could go through that tonight, make sure everybody is okay with those revisions. If there's any changes, we can certainly address that tonight as well. So the first comment that was made was revising the name from the Board of Selectmen to the Select Board. We're excited to get that approved last week at town meeting. Is everybody okay for the duration of this charge if we just have that name updated accordingly? Sounds good. There was another change as far as how the wording is for the 4 members to change that to Select Board as well. I'll just bypass those ones as well. He changed wording to just rather than the non-voting members to say Department of Public Works and other staff as needed. Is everybody okay with that change?
Yep.
Sounds good. The term of appointment will be staggered terms, staggered 3-year terms. Sounds good. Is that following along okay? Perfect. For the charge, he just said he changed from the advisory just to the Northborough Traffic Safety Committee. And then just reframing, so the forms of pedestrian and vehicle transportation. Actually, I'm going to read this right from the start because this is really important. This is going to be the charge as we're going to present to the Board of Selectmen. The Northborough Traffic Safety Committee, NTSC, aims to promote and enhance the physical, social, and economic environment in which all forms of pedestrian and vehicle transportation can work together for a safe, clean, healthy, and vital community. In so doing, we hope to involve every element of the community to contribute to the economic development and well-being of the town of Northborough. The NTSC is responsible for promoting enhanced traffic safety in the town by creating a forum where residents can voice concerns, suggestions, and requests. The NTSC will work with town staff to examine improvements to existing traffic situations and identify long and short-term solutions to traffic issues in Northborough. NTSC will also be a conduit for community input to the town administrator, Select Board, Planning Board, and other town officials, boards, committees, and departments to address residents' requests for improving livability, drivability, accessibility, and walkability of neighborhood streets in Northborough. That is the updated wording. Does everybody feel comfortable that we've covered all of our bases there? Any other changes, suggestions? Sounds good.
Laura,
As far as, yeah,
Sorry.
of course.
I just want to explain a couple of things. I suggested removing the word advisory from the name of the committee. You could go back and forth as to, we don't have or the permanent committee wouldn't have policy powers the way that the planning board or the select board would have, or school committee and so forth. We don't use advisory on too many of our committees. Usually I see that done for committees whose job it is to advise some other body. A lot of towns call what we call the appropriations committee. They actually call it the advisory committee because their job is to advise town meeting. So I didn't think that fit in here. It doesn't change the powers or duties of the committee, but I thought for simplicity that could be removed. And then on the PDF that I emailed out, economic development had just a note that I'm not 100% sure that it didn't seem to flow with really our goal. I mean, economic development is important no matter what. So I left it in there as, do we really need that? Is it extraneous? Is it confusing? But I'm open to ideas, and I think it's fine if we keep it. But to me, it seemed a little confusing.
Oh, and we'll wait for Bill to join.
Yeah.
Hi, Bill. Thanks for joining us. Can you hear us okay? Bill, can you hear us?
Sorry about that.
There you go. No problem. Thank you so much.
In my experience, Madam Chair, my experience with other traffic safety committees, both as a consultant and doing the peer reviews in preparation for this temporary committee, I'd concur with what Mitch indicated. Economic development generally fell under the purview of another board or committee in town, and it wasn't typically part of a traffic safety board or committee.
Got it. No, I definitely understand where that feedback is coming from. Bill, we're just reading through some of the updated verbiage in the charge that had come back from suggestions from Mitch. So we're at the charge part right now. Did you have any thoughts as far as the suggestions that he made? We're going to be moving on to the budget, well, just those last few updates for starting at budget.
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay, perfect. The next change under.
So I'm sorry, Laura, just to follow up on what Scott had said, maybe we just remove economic development from that first charge paragraph. So contribute to the well-being of the town of Northborough, as opposed to leaving that.
Yeah, you could say prosperity and well-being, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, if we wanted to leave something in there for that, I'm okay with it.
I love that word. Is everybody else okay with that slight modification?
I like that.
Is there, I can't remember if we discussed this last time, but was there anything for bikes that we need to add in there to kind of, and I see pedestrian and vehicle, but we kind of excluded that part. Is there
In
anything?
my head, I was thinking about bikes as part of vehicle transportation, but I think last time we had some discussion that there are all sorts of means of transportation and those change over time, and it starts to get hard to list them all.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you could think of some better wording that's more inclusive, that isn't limiting by saying, for example, we say bicycles and someone 10 years down the road said, oh, you don't list hoverboards, so I guess you don't care about hoverboards or scooters or something like that.
Yeah.
You're right. Hoverboardability doesn't really roll off the tongue quite well.
Yeah. I'm just thinking from a standpoint of, some of the stuff you see out there is, walkability, drivability, and bikeability.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
That's kind of a lot of the stuff. I know, like Scott said, just seeing it, in a professional manner, you see those three words kind of clumped together.
No, you are correct.
a lot of it is important to have in there, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. In that second paragraph, it does say drive, it does list drivability and it does list walkability. I'm perfectly fine adding bikeability somewhere in there.
I kind of like putting bikeability in there just because, I mean, out of all of the ways that people get around, driving, walking, and biking seem to be the biggest three that are out there. Especially, I mean, I do see kids riding their bikes to school, and I think that should be included.
I think it's a good point too, actually, because I know that there's a lot of towns that are having bike specific lanes. So that might help complement that if we can ever add that in the future as well. So I'll update. So I'll add that to that last sentence of the charge. Is everybody okay with that revision?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thanks for the great comments on it. I appreciate it. Then we've got the budget conversation, or the budget part of it. There's no changes there. As far as the meeting frequency, monthly or as determined by the NSTC. And then we're going to move on to the website. The Traffic Safety Committee will determine the specifics of the data requested. And then the last update is on the mission. The mission of the Northborough Traffic Safety Committee is to improve livability, drivability, and forms of pedestrian vehicle transportation in Northborough. Do we want to add bikeability into that sentence as well?
Yeah, it says all forms of pedestrian and vehicle transportation. Unless we completely rephrased it to echo drivability, bikeability, and walkability and accessibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott?
Through the chair, maybe livability, accessibility, and intermodal transportation. I mean, accessibility is part of the traffic safety as far as complete streets and all modes of transportation, as well as abilities.
I like the idea of having the wording similar. So yeah, I think having intermodal transportation, livability, accessibility, it complements that. I can certainly update that in the charge. As far as the mission goes, is everybody comfortable with that rephrased wording?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Perfect. So now we've gone through all of the changes. Did anybody have any other thoughts on the traffic safety charge before we move along? Mitch?
Sorry, as I was rereading this just before the meeting started and rereading our meeting minutes, I thought of one more thing that we intended to put on here and didn't. And for the number of voting members, it says 4 members appointed by the select board and 1 by the planning board. In my draft at the end, I added membership should include geographical and modality consideration. I don't know if I love that phrasing, but we had talked about the advantages of try to appoint members that live in different parts of town and get around different ways.
Okay, can you just say that once more? So
I'll read it again, and I'm very open to rephrasing because I don't really love it. So again, this would be at the end of the number of voting members section. Membership should include geographical and modality consideration.
I'll quickly interject something before deliberating on this point. And Mitch, I agree that giving the interview subcommittee some guidance in what they're looking for committee constituents is helpful. It gives them a direction to look in when there's a vacancy. And most importantly, when they're starting the process, but as the things go forward. So that's a great pickup, Mitch.
Yeah, I said we had talked about this last meeting, and somehow it just didn't. I didn't catch it my first run through either.
No, I love that.
Can I be a pain and have you read that one more time?
No, absolutely, yeah. Membership should include geographical and modality consideration. And I will add, I really don't like that phrasing. That was a little bit of copying, pasting it from the minutes and making it fit 5 minutes before the meeting started. We can I'm sure make that read better.
So I love the idea of including it in the charge, just as a suggestion, so that they'll be aware of all these different, interview criteria. It's not going to be like one, we just want to keep that diversity. But Janine, what are your thoughts as far as the updated wording?
No, I mean, I like it. Maybe like you said, Mitch, we can tweak it a little bit, but I think especially being such a new committee and trying to guide everybody of what we're ultimately wanting it to look like and the whole point of it, I think it's a great idea to add something like that in there.
And hopefully it helps that committee get off to a strong start and really
Right.
recognize all the different needs from, different groups of people. Yeah, so Chris got.
Geographic and user diversity kind of covers it without, 4-syllable words. And it's the same end game. It just provides the goal of diversity as well as the different users. So and regions, so that may be an option.
I like
Do you like that
terminology.
wording better?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. So yeah, well, I'll make those updates. I'll work with Scott to get the updated charge back out to everybody just to take another look at. But I think the foundation is there and we are ready to hopefully move on to our next step. Is there any other feedbacks before I move on to the next topic on our agenda? Sounds good. So the next topic we've got is the discussion of the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. So our next goal of this charge is going to be to present it to the selectmen, and hopefully they will adopt it. They'll agree with what we suggested, and then this committee will get started. We will. I don't know what the process is for requesting that next date. Or how that would look. Mitch, do you have any suggestions on how we would go about that?
I would suggest that this board take a vote to request the select board adopt the charges provided.
Okay, and can we do that now?
And then,
Okay.
And then Laura, you or Scott, really, you could forward that to the office and it would get onto an upcoming agenda. Tentatively, I'm thinking probably the second meeting in May or first meeting in June.
And so
Okay.
the staffing process behind the scenes, we prepare a cover memo to the Board of Selectmen identifying what the topic is, make recommendations, whether it be by staff or another committee. I'll vet that through you, Laura, make sure
Yeah.
it agrees with what the findings are. And Mitch, I 100% agree. It makes sense to, I don't want to say table it, but put it on the agenda for later in May, the second meeting, when the full complement of board members after the election are present.
Sounds good. So I would like to ask if somebody would like to make a motion for the temporary traffic safety committee to make a vote for the select board to approve the Northborough Traffic Safety Committee as a recommendation going forward. Would somebody like to make a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Bill. Would somebody like to second that?
I'll second that.
Thank you both. Okay, so this will be a roll call vote. I'm going to go around again. Janine Callahan,
Hi.
Mitch Cohen,
Aye.
Chris Tzitzis,
Aye.
Bill Pierce,
Aye.
Mark McMenemy.
Aye.
Thank you so much. And I, Laura, am also an aye. The next topic on our agenda is whether or not we need a future meeting. I think we've met. I think we've really done some great research. Does anybody have any thoughts on whether another meeting would be warranted, or are we comfortable just making those revisions and then moving on to the selectmen's meeting from there? Sounds like everybody's okay.
To schedule anything. I would imagine if there's some confusion once the latest edits to the charge get put together, if we needed to, we could schedule another meeting. In theory, we could post a meeting to meet with the select board when that gets on that agenda, but usually that's just the chair
Okay.
presenting, so we wouldn't have to do that.
as much as I would love to continue having these meetings, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. And I really appreciate everyone's work to get us to this point. Is there any other business to come legally before our committee? Well, I'd like to thank you all so much for volunteering, for all of the work that you did. Scott, thank you as always for help guiding us through this. And it's really been a great experience. And I look forward to kicking this off and sharing this with the selectmen soon. With no other topics on our agenda, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Bill. Would somebody like to
Second.
second that? Thank you, Mitch. Okay, this is a roll call vote. I'm going to go around. Please respond. Mark McMenemy,
Aye.
Janine Callahan,
Hi.
Mitch Cohen,
Let's go on. Aye.
Krista Cetus,
Aye.
Bill Pierce.
Aye.
I, Laura Zeiton, I'm also an I, and I hope you all have a great night. Thank you, Scott, for your help tonight. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.